So Putin recognizes only power, basically force. And then also, at least my experience as Apollo One, tells me that when he understands that you have more power and that you basically won because of your position is better, then he starts behaving rationally and accepts your position. So, for example, the only arguments that worked from our side, it was not just like it's fair or it's not fair, basically, but when we said like, look, we arrested your assets all over Europe, and if you don't pay, we will just start liquidating your assets, you will lose more. So that's why you have to pay, not because, again, you lost arbitration or it's justice or whatever. Just like, again, you would be worse off if you don't pay. So that's the point. A similar situation with the transit contract. So when we said, look, we started this new arbitration, you know that you're losing in these arbitrations, we're winning in these arbitrations. So we will win more. It will take more time for us to win, but we will take even more money from you. So that's why you'd better sign this new transit deal. So that's the approach that works. Ukraine can export gas that would be 10 times more valuable, or will bring more money than we get from transit. Mm-hmm. So that is why I personally believe that our future is not with the transit of Russian gas. Our future in, again, market reforms, joining European Union, but in the energy sector, it's about exporting in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years. We can become a material or like significant exporter of natural gas and biomethane. And then, let's say, in 10, 20 years, we can be a big exporter of green hydrogen, something that is sustainable and will bring much more money to Ukraine than gas transit. It's a huge problem. It's probably the biggest economic problem of Ukraine. I'm not exaggerating. So our calculations show, and again, we have all the data to back these calculations, it's even in our annual report, that this year alone, these indirect subsidies, the difference between the market prices and these regulated low prices, amounts to 842 billion hryvnia. It's roughly 20% of the Ukrainian nominal GDP. It's comparable with all the spending on the army in the year of war. I'm talking about 22. That's a huge amount. I'm not saying that there is a silver bullet, just increase prices and that's it. Because another problem is energy poverty in Ukraine. People are poor, they just cannot afford to pay the full market prices. Mm-hmm. An obvious solution for that would be some direct subsidies where you just give money to those who cannot pay. We have to understand that then it will be, maybe 80%, like a huge percentage of Ukrainians who should get these indirect subsidies. People psychologically don't want to get subsidies. They want to think of themselves as they can pay the full price. They don't get subsidies. Again, they can take care of their families. That's why they prefer to think that gas should be cheaper, that it's something basically wrong about these calculations, or they just don't want to hear about this problem, you see. So that's why sometimes people don't like economists. We are boring, and you see that we're not saying something that people want to hear. Instead of these indirect subsidies, people should save as much gas as possible, and we should spend this money on our soldiers. Intellectual elites and elites in general, they understand, the Western elites, they understand that Ukraine is just on the front line of this fight between these modern values, modern civilization, and old civilization and old values. And it's not an option for modern elite to go back to this, to some extent, dark ages or dark times. So for them, they understand that that's an existential fight for their values. Because Putin's Russia values, they're opposite to the values of a modern world. So that's why they understand that Ukraine is on the front line. And to the same extent, we in Ukraine understand that we need to finance our soldiers on the front line. To the same extent, the Western elite understands that they need to support Ukraine, who is on the front line. And even though there are high prices and there is this attrition, they call it in military terms, We have to be strong and resilient to go through it as winners. So, as in every fight, I did some boxing when I was young. So we have to understand that if you are tired, the opponent is also tired. So sometimes you just need to, again, keep going.